Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're firing up the time machine and heading way back, like over 1,000 years back, to 1020 AD. Why? Because there's a fascinating historical puzzle we need to solve. So, how can a legendary hero, like a total icon of loyalty, end his career as a spectacular failure? That's the question at the heart of our story today. We're talking about a guy named Kou Zhun. In Chinese history, this man's name is basically a byword for integrity. And yet, the end of his story is a total disaster. He's exiled, disgraced. I mean, how does that even happen? Let's dig in.
All right, so to figure out this epic fall from grace, we've got to start with the case against him. What went wrong? Well, it all boils down to this really short, just 13-month comeback tour he had, and let me tell you, it was a complete and utter train wreck. The centerpiece of this disaster was this incredibly clumsy coup attempt. I mean, it was just poorly executed from start to finish. The whole point was to lock in power for Kou Zhun and his team, but it just backfired spectacularly. I'm talking, it didn't just fail, it got his entire political faction wiped clean off the map. So you're probably asking, how did it all go so wrong? Well, it turns out Kou Zhun, for all his brilliance, was just terrible at the political game. I mean, honestly, he had a special talent for turning potential allies into sworn enemies. The man was a genius, no doubt, but his people skills, let's just say they were not his strong suit at all. Okay, check this out, because this is a perfect example. They're at a dinner, right? And his deputy, a guy named Ding Wei, sees a little soup in Kou Zhun's beard. So he does the helpful thing, you know? He just gently wipes it off for him, a small, polite gesture. And what does Kou Zhun do? He publicly humiliates him with this sarcastic takedown. With that one comment, that one little moment, he created a mortal enemy who would then dedicate himself to taking Kou Zhun down. Ouch.
Right, so all of this just begs a massive question, doesn't it? If this guy was so prickly, so arrogant, so hard to work with, why in the world would the dying emperor, He Zhang, bring him back out of retirement to be prime minister? I mean, of all people.
And here's the kicker. The emperor knew exactly who he was getting. This wasn't some blind hire. He'd already fired Kou Zhun twice before for basically being, well, for being Kou Zhun. So there had to be a really good reason for bringing him back for this one last super important job.
Okay, so let's look at the political chessboard here. The situation is tense. The emperor is on his deathbed. The crown prince? He's just a 10-year-old kid. And you've got these two factions circling like sharks. In one corner, you've got the super ambitious Empress Lu and her right-hand man, Ding Wei. And in the other corner, well, that's where the emperor needs to place his key piece. He needs a bulldog, an enforcer, someone to protect his son's claim to the throne.
And this is where it gets wild. Suddenly, all of Kou Zhun's biggest flaws, they become his greatest strengths. His stubbornness, that's what you need. His arrogance, his total refusal to ever back down from a fight, those were the exact qualities the emperor was looking for. He needed someone tough enough, maybe even nasty enough, to go toe-to-toe with the empress and protect his son. Kou Zhun wasn't just the best man for the job, he was the only man for the job.
So Kou Zhun takes the mission. And, as we know, he fails. Big time. He gets exiled to the absolute middle of nowhere to die in disgrace. And that should be the end of the story, right? Nope. Not even close. This is where it gets really interesting. To get what happens next, we have to introduce this really cool idea called civilizational time. Think of it like this. It's not about judging someone based on their day-to-day wins and losses. It's about pulling the camera way back, looking at their life from the perspective of centuries, and judging them based on the core values of their entire civilization. And this right here, this is the paradox in a nutshell. When he was alive, the verdict was in failure. Total failure. Arrogant guy botched the most important mission of his life, died a nobody in exile. But when you look at him through that lens of civilizational time, all that stuff just fades into the background. And what's left is a hero, a principled, moral man who defended what was right. So, what gives? Why the complete 180? It's because of that one crucial choice. The choice to stand up to the empress and protect the rightful heir. That single act aligned perfectly with the civilization's deepest moral code. It's like history put this Instagram filter on him, you know? It just smoothed over all the messy parts, the bad personality, the political failure, and sharpened the focus on the one thing that, in the long run, truly mattered. And get this wasn't just a special case for Kou Zhun. This is actually a thing in Chinese historical tradition. Sometimes, the moral of the story is more important than the nitty-gritty facts.
There's this famous writer, Ouyang Shi, who wrote this beautiful story about two lifelong political enemies finally making peace on their deathbeds. It's a great story. The only problem? It never happened. He just made it up because he thought it taught a better lesson about harmony. For him, the moral truth was way more important than the literal truth.
So, what can we take away from this 1,000-year-old story today? Let's get into it, because the lesson here is pretty powerful and honestly, timeless.
Okay, so think about it. When you're part of a culture that has a strong, shared moral compass, what we're calling a civilizational consensus, it acts like a guide. It's like a North Star. When you come to a huge, life-defining fork in the road, you already know which path is the right one, even if it looks way harder.
And that shared understanding, it comes with this incredible promise. It basically tells you, hey, even if you fail, even if you lose everything and suffer for it right now, trust us, history will eventually get it right. Your choice will be remembered and you will be vindicated.
And that really gets to the heart of Kou Zhun's story, doesn't it? It boils down to this powerful idea. Don't ask if it's possible, ask if it's right. The big question isn't, can I win this fight? It's, is this the right fight to be in? Kou Zhun didn't choose the smart political move. He chose the right one.
And for Kou Zhun, history kept its promise. 11 years after he died, alone and in exile, that little boy he fought for, he finally took the throne as Emperor Renzong. And one of the very first things he did was clear Kou Zhun's name. He restored all his titles, and then he personally inscribed 2 characters on his memorial, Jingzhong. It means banner of loyalty. A perfect ending, right? It officially cemented his legacy as a hero whose loyalty would fly like a giant flag for all of history to see.
So, the story of Kou Zhun really leaves us with this one big thought. Our legacies, they aren't really defined by all our little wins and losses or our everyday personality quirks. They're forged in those handful of critical moments when we have to make a choice. Not the easy choice, but the right one. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the one crucial choice that's going to define your story?